Today I'm going to show you one of the coolest things that I've put in a recent project, and that is this, flush mount outlets. Now, what is this product? This product is from a company called FlushTech. They did not ask me to do this video. I just really think that this is such a cool thing that I want to share it with you guys because I got a lot of interest after I built my kitchen island. Now, on my kitchen island, I used riffs-on white oak. And as I was building it, I started asking around on some ideas for how I was going to do the electrical, and somebody said, have I ever heard of FlushTech? So I immediately went to the website, took a look at what they had, and immediately ordered it because I was like, this is exactly what I want to do. Now, what is this, right? So it's a flush mount outlet system. Why would you want flush mount outlets? Well, this was designed by a guy by the name of Corey, and he was asked by somebody that was building a home if he could design something that would allow them to recess outlets in the baseboard on their new home rather than having any outlets in the wall. So he created this. This is a jig, and it comes with various templates and allow you to create what you see here being flush mounted outlets. And yes, you can get wood veneers for your cover plates. You could also use these for switches. You can go black, you can go white, whatever colors they offer. I'm going to break this down so it's very easy to understand. You'll see here that there's 4 templates. These templates were designed to work specifically with the Leviton Decora outlets or the Lutron Claro outlets along with their faceplates. So before choosing one of the templates that you see here, which I'm about to explain, you would need to know which of these 2 you plan on using in your project. The next thing you need to know is, are you going to be using a metal Rayco box, or are you going to be using one of these Carlon old work boxes? That will also dictate which one of these you will need to select. And what I mean by that is this one specifically right here would be used if you were using one of these metal boxes. This template at the top says Levitron Carlon. That means that this template would be used if you were using this box and this outlet. Hopefully I'm making sense with this. Here we have Lutron Carlon, so this would be the set for that. And then now we have Lutron Carlon with veneer. So if we wanted to use a veneer cover on the plate, this would be the one we're going to use. This is going to be the one that I demonstrate today. And speaking of the veneers, they offer different veneer patterns, right? They have riffs-on white oak, which I have here with vertical grain. I have riffs-on white oak with horizontal grain. This right here is a birch example, and if I remember correctly, I believe they do also have walnut. Now, why would the direction of the grain be that important on this application? I'm going to show you because I'm actually going to use one of the vertical and one of the horizontal and show you what it can look like on a panel. And I'm going to do a couple of demos and walk through how this works, but essentially this acts as my guide for the router right here. And when I'm done, I'm able to put this in my hole that I cut out and cut out the actual space for the outlet. So let's get into a demo. I'm going to do 2 different demonstrations. The first one I'm going to do is going to show an outlet horizontal with the grain running vertically to match what this is here. But the first thing I need to do is place this. Now, it's probably hard to see in the video, but you'll see all these different numbers, 5, 6, 6.5, or 5.5, 7.25, 8. Those are all measurements to get you perfectly centered. There's some cutouts here in the middle, here, 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 here. And if I wanted to, I could just draw an X and align everything. But there's also an indicator right here. So for this, all I did was find the center. I'm going to slide this up against it, and then we'll clamp it in place. And now I know that this is going to be exactly where my outlet is. Now I bring that up. These numbers, they don't necessarily mean as much right now. I can use it for that. So I know that I'm going to be 4 inches up from the bottom here. But those numbers are all for baseboard applications. Whether you're using 4-inch all the way up to 8-inch, you can make sure that you're perfectly centered on your baseboard if you were using it for that application. Once I have it exactly where I want it, I can just go ahead and clamp this down. You don't need a ton of pressure, and you could, in an event that you were doing something in the middle, you could always use double-sided tape to secure this to your workpiece. You're not putting a lot of pressure or anything on it while you're using it. So the next thing that I will be doing is I'm going to place this in here like that. Now there is something that we need to do. We use a router to do all of this, and it's done in 2 passes. you'll see pass 1, you'll see pass 2, and then you see this right here, it says box. This is a hole to allow us to drill a relief hole, which we will need later. Next, I'm going to take this template out and I'm going to set my depth. That's what these indicators are. I'm going to set the depth of my router to pass 1. I'll do that on both sides, and then I'll pull it out and set it to pass 2. Now this kit comes with a router bit. It is a white sides templating bit, and to set the depth for pass 1, we want to use this setting here. So the bottom, or the top in this case, of this bit needs to be touching there. Once we make the first cut, then we make it a little bit deeper. And so what I'm using here is the template, just to make sure that I'm set at the proper depth. From here, we can put our template back in, making sure that it sits nice and flush. And if it doesn't, make sure you clean this area out, because we want to ensure that we're going to the proper depth. But again, this first pass is not nearly as important as the second pass. So we'll go ahead and get my router set up, ready to go. And we can go ahead and make this first cut. No, this is what we're trying to achieve. We have created the first pocket. Now we're going to go ahead and flip this around, and I'll do the same thing on the other side, and then I can change to pass 2 depth, go through, make all my cuts, and we'll move on to the next step. I want to take a moment to talk about some of the things that you'll get over on my Patreon channel. Over on my Patreon, you'll have the ability to gain access to weekly updates and exclusive behind-the-scenes content, early ad-free access to the videos that you watch right here, live monthly group calls on Zoom, and direct access to me. And as a top-tier patron, you'll actually have the opportunity for me to come visit you in your shop for the day. So if you like what you're seeing in these videos, or any of my content for that matter, and you're looking for a way to help support the channel and everything that I do, then consider becoming a patron. I'll be sure to leave a link directly to my Patreon in the video description below. Thanks, and I hope to see you there. Now, before I remove this template, I want to check something. So I don't know exactly how thick this is, but what you're looking for at this point is this should be pretty much flush, like pretty close to it. And I just like to check it first just to make sure, like now I know I'm good, that it's the right depth. There can be variations in this sometimes, variations in the boxes. So sometimes you may have to adjust to get it to sit perfectly flush, but I mean, it's dead on. So I'm not really worried about it. I'm gonna go ahead and take this out now. I guess I could have left it in. At this point, we can remove this jig. We don't need it anymore. We don't need this anymore. All we need now is this. This goes in the hole, and now what I'm going to use is that pilot hole that I did in the beginning, go all the way through and cut this out, and then we can move on to actually installing the outlets. I don't need to make any adjustments to the bit, simply because it's already set to it from pass 2. So we just start in the pilot hole there and go around. From here, we can remove that. Make sure there's no debris left in there. And the first step will be installing our Old Work Carlon box. And it's easy to do this in this particular order. It'll just make the install go much smoother, because once we add our actual outlet, we're not going to have as open access to some of this stuff. So we're nice, we're tight down in there. The box is definitely not going anywhere. Next we can install our outlet. And here we want to do as good of a job as we can making sure that this is straight. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get it to where it's almost screwed all the way in. And from here, see how it's off center? If it's off center, when we put the plate on, it's not going to give a nice even reveal all the way around. So this right here is how you go about adjusting to make sure that your reveal is the same. And that looks pretty good. I have found that about the size of this screwdriver kind of centers it really, really nice. And that seems to be pretty good. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and tighten this down. Now, granted, remember, I would be hooking up my electrical at this point prior to screwing this in. But since I don't have any electrical stuff to hook up to this to give you. But this would still be the same process. The only difference is you'd be hooking up wires. Next we have our plate, which comes in two parts. This just snaps off. And we can attach this piece. And here's where you can look and see, like, how does the reveal look all the way around. And since I'm centered, it looks pretty good. I'll go ahead and tighten this down. And it looks like I can shift over just a bit, and that looks better. Now we need to put a veneer on this. So for this veneer, I want to use the vertical grain because I have grain running this direction. This is a really cool option to be able to do with this if you don't want just that boring, colored outlet and you want to match the material that you're doing. What's great about this is actual wood veneer. This can be sanded and it can be finished just like any other part of your project. And that's exactly what I did on my kitchen island. First, I'll just make sure that is in fact clean. And you peel off this 3M adhesive on the back for this paper. And from here, what I found is the easiest to do is to start it like this. That way you know that the bottom is flush, and then you're just lining up the ends. Because if you're trying to eyeball it, it's like doing a cell phone case, right? It always looks like you're doing it right, but then you put it on and it's crooked. All right, so that is pretty dang good there. Now we can just clip this thing right into place. And now this is so cool. Now I have a nice flush outlet in my material. And in the event that, like, if you were a little bit proud, there's lots of things that you can do. From this point, I can go back and I can adjust the outlet to get it nice and centered perfectly. It's pretty dang close now, but I can tell there's a little bit more space here than there is over here. So you would just adjust the outlet itself in order to shift it to where it needs to go. But man, what a cool look for a piece of furniture, or, there's lots of applications that you could use this. I'm going to do one more right down here with the vertical outlet so we could take a look at what that's going to look like. So that's what I'm going to do. Honestly, I just think that this idea is so cool. I did see Nick Schiffer and NS Builders. They were doing it like recessing outlets and stuff in the wall, which was really, really, really cool. But I mean, just look how great that looks. It just looks awesome. So much different than just a standard outlet. Not saying that, you know, you need to run around and do this everywhere in your house or incorporate it into every project moving forward, but I really do think that this is something very, very cool that would be, you know, a conversation starter, honestly. When people come over to my place and they see my kitchen island for the first time and they see those flush mount outlets, they always ask, like, how did you go about doing that? So I've seen firsthand just what it can do. I'll leave links to all this stuff down in the video description. I want to say for this, it was $189, and it comes like this. So it comes with whatever template you need, plus the jig. And then if you want veneers, you know, you have to buy the veneers separately. You have to get these on your own. And I'll leave links to this stuff down in the video description as well, so it's easy to find. But Leviton and the Lutron, both of these are readily accessible at any home store. You can go to Home Depot, you can go to Lowe's, Ace Hardware. They're probably going to have them. I did want to say one more thing. I think I mentioned this in the beginning, but I use the ones that cover the plugs completely. The ones I use in my kitchen island are actually like that, so you actually do see the plug. And that was just because these ones were not available at the time, but I love the way that they look. Again, these come in different species. I know for a fact birch, I know for a fact white oak, and I'm pretty sure walnut is an option as well. And just to be clear, if you want to use the veneers, right, you don't have to, then you need to get the one that I got, which is the LC4-5V. It says Lutron, Claron, or Carlon veneer. This is the one that you need to do what I did in this video. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you in the next video.